videos and such, if you're unable to see or hear something, all you have to do is raise your hand and let me know. Ma'am, I'm going to remind you, as I do whenever we take a break in the middle of a witness's testimony, you're still under the oath that I gave to you previously. You're on direct examination for Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Officer, before the break, we were looking at the body cam, and you were describing how you found the gun to the supervisor. And my question was, prior to the shooting, you never saw a gun in the victim's hand, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we also saw you clearing the gun on the video, and again, just to reiterate, there was not a round in the chamber at that time, right?
Correct.
Meaning that if the trigger was pulled, it could not be fired.
Correct.
All right. The location where you guys were at, 4700 Eastside Drive in Dallas, is that located in Dallas County
It is.
in the state of Texas?
Yes.
And was the defendant a City of Dallas police officer at the time that he shot the victim?
Yes.
Kind of going back before the shooting and the manner in which you guys decided to approach the vehicle, you kind of described the felony stop for us. Obviously, you guys were not receiving any response to your commands. Was there any thought, any talk amongst yourselves about possibly treating this as a barricaded person?
Not at that point, no.
Okay. What does that mean, a barricaded person, and how do you handle that particular situation?
A barricaded person is someone who is secreted themselves inside a building or something and refusing to come out. At that point, we didn't know that anybody was in the vehicle, so we have to determine first if there is someone in the vehicle. If we do have a barricaded person situation, our protocol would be to call a sergeant and then eventually SWAT to come out, but that's usually not a practical situation.
And just kind of going back to the communication between the officers at the scene, appears there was a lot of verbal commands given to the occupants of the vehicle, but there didn't seem to be a lot of talking amongst the officers. Was there a plan in place as far as how you would handle the situation, or how did that evolve as to how you responded to that situation?
There was not a plan. It evolved as kind of just how most of the time, it kind of happens. It kind of evolves as it goes. It formulates as it goes.
At one point on your body cam, we see that after you locate the weapon inside the vehicle, you kind of go off to the side and you place it on top of another vehicle. Do you recall that?
Yes.
On the carport?
Yes.
And then you walk away, and then you come back. Where was the gun when you walked away?
I can't remember if I grabbed it back in my hand or not, honestly, because it would just have to be on the video, because I go back and I'm not sure if I reached back up and grabbed it again or if I had it in my hand when I walked away. I'm not real sure.
It appears that you left the gun on the top of the vehicle and you walked away and came back and recovered it from the top of the vehicle. As far as officer safety, was that the best way to handle it?
No, it's not the most perfect way. But I knew at that time that there was nobody back there. So I just didn't go very far and came back, so.
Yes, you testified that there wasn't necessarily a plan as to how you guys were going to address the situation. It just kind of evolved as it went. Is that correct?
That's correct.
When you guys realized that they were inside the vehicle and sleeping, in your opinion, was there time at that point to kind of talk amongst yourselves and formulate a plan at that point?
I mean, they were given commands, yelling for a minute. At one point, I did say, just go ahead and back up, because it's kind of, we're not in the best situation now that we know they're in here. They're not responding. I can't see what the responses or non-responses are, because I still can't see them at all. But you get stuck a lot of times in situations. You're in that moment and you kind of get stuck in that routine of you're giving commands or you're wanting a response to happen, it's not, and you kind of sit there for a minute. So there was kind of after a minute of kind of going through that, then I thought, okay, let's back it up. And it was shortly after that the car turned on. So there wasn't a lot, plus you want to keep eyes. I mean, we can talk amongst ourselves, but we also at the same time, we want to be able to continue to see what's going on, because if there is a reaction or there is a movement, some kind of response, we want to be able to see that.
Right. And so prior to the vehicle starting as well, we see, I believe Officer Hopkins go up and reach and try to open the back door of the vehicle, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that part of a felony stop?
Well, on a felony stop that works properly, they get out of the vehicle and they come to us. So that had already broken down because they didn't respond to us from a distance, and we had to. So there's no particular procedure for that. It's just, we want to see in the vehicle, how can we do that? Well, let's go see if the door opens. If we have opened the door, then we can see them more clearly, and we can see if there's people in there.
Okay, so is that routine for officers to try to make entry into a vehicle and they don't really know what's in there? I mean, that seems to be, that'd be an officer safety issue at that point.
Well, you have to. I mean, you got to approach the vehicle at some point. Like, that's why we went up there. It's like, we can't just sit back here all day. You know, I mean, this, again, it's not practical. And, you know, it used to be before we had that particular policy, yes, it was. You charged the vehicle and addressed it, oops, sorry, all at once. Like, everybody went up there and approached the vehicle. So it was actually, I wouldn't say a newer policy, but from the old times, because it was an officer safety issue that we stayed back and addressed the car from behind. But it used to, and officers have been killed that way, approaching the vehicle and trying to make entry right off the bat, everybody together. But, I mean, sometimes you just, how can we get in this vehicle? How can we see what's in here? And that was one of the options.
Sure, and you kind of testified to what I was getting at as far as officer safety. If you don't know what or who is inside the vehicle and you're trying to open up the door, that could become a potential officer safety issue, could it not?
It's trying to prevent the officer safety issue, because we're already in an officer safety issue. I mean, we approach cars that we don't know if people are in them all the time, on the dark, by ourselves. If we're in a park and there's a vehicle, I'm gonna go look at it. I may open the doors to see if anybody, you know, if I can't see in. So we're already at officer safety danger. So that, by opening the door, we're already that close. Him trying to do that was trying to get us to be able to see in, to help lower the safety risk, in my impression.
And to that point, obviously the situation changes once the vehicle comes on and begins to move. But prior to that point, what necessarily was the rush as to trying to get inside the vehicle? You had actually indicated on the video that you guys need to back up to cover and just kind of wait, right?
Right.
What was the rush at that point to get inside the vehicle?
I wouldn't say it's a rush, but at the same time, I mean, time is our friend, but we had already given multiple commands. We had blown the horn, the siren, to see if someone's in there. So at that point, we're trying to see someone's in there. Once we did see someone was in there, now we want to give them the opportunity to respond. As the officer said, they're sleeping, so okay, now we have to give them more opportunity to respond. Like, we want to get them to comply, essentially. You know, we don't want to stare at them for a long time. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something, or we're going to have to do something.
So again, going back to the pertinent moment in time that the jury is focused on the use of deadly force by the defendant, you did not perceive a deadly threat to either yourself or any other officers at the time you decided to use deadly force, is that correct?
Yes, I did not have that perception.
Thank you. I'll pass it, Alicia.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, are you saying that there wasn't a threat?
No, I'm not saying there wasn't a threat.
Explain that to me.
That there was no threat, there was no imminent threat to me that I felt at that particular moment, or?
No, the difference between saying I didn't perceive a threat and that's not to say there wasn't a threat.
Oh, yes, that's correct. It's just that I did not perceive the threat to me. The vehicle was not coming in my direction, and to my knowledge, I didn't know that anybody else was in danger. So to my knowledge, I didn't perceive the threat. But we have different perceptions, we have different angles and different visions and different knowledge of a certain situation from different perspectives and different angles. So from where I was standing at that particular point, I did not have the fear for myself, and I didn't have any knowledge that anybody else was in imminent danger either.
May I press witness? Officer Evans, I'm gonna show you defense exhibits 1 through 10. Photographs of the scene. Are these accurate portrayals of the scene as it was that night?
Yes.
Would they assist you in your testimony to the jury?
Yes.
State would offer states exhibits 1 through 10 into evidence. Defense exhibit.
No objection.
Defense exhibits 1 through 10 are admitted for all purposes. You may publish.
Permission to publish
Great.
and permission to have the officer step down, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am, you can step down, but please do me a favor. And really, it's on behalf of the court reporter. If you're gonna step down, make sure you project your voice to her so she can hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
Okay.
Just to the best of your ability, try not to turn your back on the court. Perfect.
Officer Evans, showing you defense exhibit number 11. Is this a diagram of the scene?
Yes.
Have you seen this before?
Yes.
Does it accurately show the scene the way it was that night?
In the final, yes.
Defense would offer defense exhibit 11.
We have 1 moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
No objection.
Defense exhibit number 11 is admitted for all purposes. You may publish.
Thank you. Officer Evans, what I'm gonna do is play your body cam again and talk a little bit about where people are positioned in terms of this diagram and some of the things that take place, okay? All right, keep your voice up. All right? Defense exhibit 11, let's talk about what we're seeing here, okay?
Okay. This is the diagram of the ending result, so it's not how it actually started out to
Okay,
be.
is that the apartment complex and the,
Yes, this is the parking lot behind the apartment complex. So this
and
is.
the building is here?
The building is here?
Defense exhibit number 1, is that gonna show the front of the building?
Yes.
If you drive down this road where my finger is, does that take you back to this parking lot?
Yes, that's this right here.
Defense exhibit 2, does that also show leading back to that parking lot?
Yes.
Where's that?
Yeah, that should be back here.
Another one of the driveways through to the back parking lot?
Yeah.
You discussed there being 2 ways to get back there. Is this showing the 2 ways to get back there?
That is just one way.
Where's the other way?
Off here,
Okay, and which one did you park at?
on this one.
Okay, so the one that's off out of the scene?
Yes.
Put a sticky on where the stolen vehicle was.
Where it is right now, or where?
Where it was when you approached. Okay, so that is where the car is parked.
Yes,
And to orient the jury, this is gonna be the white lattice fence,
yes.
and then there is a white lattice fence along here,
There's some kind of fence, yes.
some kind of fence, okay. As you approached, where are you walking?
Well, we parked over here, so I'm walking, actually in between the 2 rows of cars, walking towards there, because Hopkins was an hour here already.
And is this diagram correct in this was the number of cars there, or was that car full?
It was full.
Just a moment and I'll get the equipment switched to my computer and we'll start your body camera, okay? Is that where we see you walking up?
Yes.
What exhibit number is that?
State's exhibit.
Number 6, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Where are you walking at this point?
In between the row of cars here.
Pause.
Driver, put your hand up.
Okay, at this point, where are you located?
On the outside, there's a little pole right here, so we're on the outside of this car.
And who is that speaking?
That is Officer Hopkins,
And Officer Hopkins is saying driver to what car?
to the suspect car.
And are you guys shining lights onto the car?
Yes.
What kind of lights?
Flashlights and some of them weapon-mounted lights.
Okay, so turn around and show the jury what that looks like.
As a flashlight and or,
How do you hold a flashlight and a weapon at the same time?
it's a weapon. So we put the hand holding the flashlight underneath our hand like this, so we're pointing the gun with the flashlight on this hand like this.
Why did you approach that way?
Because I did not have a flashlight mounted on my whip at the time.
Why do you approach with your guns out?
Because as we said, we were doing a felony traffic stop kind of situation where we believe the vehicle to be stolen and people inside, so.
Fair to say you don't know what you're walking into,
Right.
and you walk in prepared.
Yes.
Why do you guys wait back here and begin to yell?
Because we want to keep the distance for a better cover.
Why don't you just run up and open the door?
Because it's unsafe to do so that way.
And you're not wanting to startle the people and
Correct.
occupants inside the car?
Correct.
Do you guys identify yourselves?
Yes.
Will you hit play, please?
The window. Driver, put your hands out the window. Nope. I can't even tell what to talk about still.
Pause.
We're trying to move up on.
At that point, who is speaking?
Officer Hopkins.
Officer Hopkins is saying we don't know if it's even occupied. I guess we'll just have to move up on it, correct?
Correct.
Listen here when we hit play.
On it. Yes, no? Do I just...
Pause. Somebody says I'm going to pull the squad car up for cover. Do you know who that is?
It's Officer Hess.
That would be Officer Hess,
Yes.
saying he's going to pull the squad car up for what reason?
To honk the horn, give him some kind of loud notification that we're there.
And he says to provide cover. What does that mean?
That we can use to get behind it
Okay.
as well.
So at this point, the car, if you'll hit play, please.
I guess it's not. Well, the last comment was a male and a female inside.
It's got foggy window. closet? At that point, you guys are speculating about whether or not it's even occupied, correct?
Correct.
And you say that the last report was there was a male and a female in there. Do you know if the male and female are still in there?
No, we do not know.
And then we hear you say it's got foggy windows.
Correct.
Why do you say that?
Because the windows were foggy, which could indicate that someone was either in it at the time due to breathing and stuff, it fogged up the windows, or recently at least in it.
So you're noting it that it is currently or recently was occupied.
Yes.
Okay, I want to watch when we hit play how you guys approach. You'll pause it there. The siren we heard blasting, what was that?
It's one of the sound options we have. We have multiple sirens. This is one of the options. You can push the button to notify.
What's the point of that?
To alert people that we're there, hopefully wake them up if they are sleeping, or at least give them another opportunity to know that we're there.
And when you say that we're there, you mean the police are there?
Yes.
Does it help identify you as police?
I believe so, yes.
When you guys move from this position down back, do you move directly behind the car or do you go behind the squad car?
We go behind the squad car generally.
Why don't you go directly behind the stolen vehicle?
Again, that puts us in an unsafe position. It's better to be at the squad car where we have a little bit more cover.
Is it a dangerous situation that those windows are foggy?
It is, because we're unable to see inside.
And why does that matter?
Because we can't see in there, then we don't know what they're doing, and they could be pointing weapons at us right now, and we actually don't know.
So you're taking every precaution you have available to you at that time?
Yes.
Okay. You use the squad car for cover here?
Kind of, yes. Not as much as we technically should have, but yes, we did.
If you'll hit play, please. When you say not as much as we should have, what do you mean?
Because my position is not really behind the car. If someone was to fire from the van, they could actually strike me. A better position would have been farther back behind the car. But we're not always perfect, unfortunately, so.
And fair to say that you guys are attempting to walk up to that car and do your job and deal with it, correct?
Correct.
But it's a balance of officer safety and doing your job.
Correct.
Peter, do you see anybody?
Stop. Did you hear them say, Peter, did you see anybody?
Yes.
Did you know Peter was back there before he said that?
I could not recall. I actually knew at that time if that's where he was or not.
And Peter Officer Liquor?
Yes.
Where is he at this moment?
He is on the side of this van that was parked next to the car, so he's using that van as a cover and concealment to try to see into the suspect car.
Do you know what moment he got back there?
I do not know what moment he got there.
Do you know what route he took back there?
I do not know. I assume that he went behind the squad car, but I do not know where he actually came from because him and Alice were off to the different side where I could not see them from where I was.
Show me where you are on this diagram at this time.
I am like right here on the squad car, but the squad car is farther back here because it hasn't been moved up yet.
Okay. You'll hit play. Who is that we see in your front right?
That is Officer Hopkins.
Officer Hopkins?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see your hands! Hands up! Let me
You'll
see your
pause it at
hands!
that point. When they say it's occupied, they're sleeping. What did you take that to mean?
I don't particularly remember hearing that at the time. Obviously, it was said. But it's, well, besides the occupied, I heard the occupied part, is now giving them commands, but also trying to back up a little bit from the car. Because now we know, so we don't have to be so close to it.
So fair to say you guys moved in verified it was occupied, and then quickly moved back.
Yes,
Why do you quickly move back?
because now we know that there's a confirmed danger inside of it.
Officer Hopkins in your front right, Officer Lickwire in the back with his flashlight up.
Yes.
Do you know where the other
I'm sorry.
officer?
Your hands up!
Did you say Hopkins?
Yes.
That's, I think that's Alice right there. I think Hopkins had moved off to somewhere on the left.
Somewhere on the left. Do you know where on the left?
I do not know.
You'll hit play.
Open the door! Down, police!
So after learning that they are in occupants, you continue to yell,
Down,
"Dallas
police! Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
Pause. Fair to say that the officers are trying to be loud.
Yes,
Are you guys yelling?
yes,
Are you identifying yourself as police?
yes,
Are you making every attempt to have the occupants comply?
yes.
What would most people do in this situation in your experience?
Object, speculation, or relevance.
Why don't you rephrase the questions? Objection sustained.
Did it cause you concern that they didn't get out of the vehicle at this moment?
Yes.
Why?
Because we don't know what they're thinking. We believe that, or I believe that they obviously knew that we were police. They've given clean opportunity to see that we're police. And when someone's not complying, it makes you concerned that they are formulating a plan to resist in some form or manner, either by physical force towards you or just trying to get away.
Is this going through your head at this moment?
Yes,
Is your concern rising?
it is.
Is your heart starting to beat a little bit faster?
It is.
Is your grip on your gun getting a little bit tighter?
Probably after this, honestly.
Put your hands outside the vehicle right now! Hands up!
To cover this whole.
Pause. So at 3:26, you say, let's get to cover and just hold, correct?
Correct.
Pause. What happened right there?
The car turned on.
And you can hear the car turn on?
Yeah, I can see the lights come on.
So at 3:38, the car turns on?
Yes,
So 10 seconds after you saying, let's get to cover, the car turns on?
yes.
Why did you want to get to cover to wait?
Because at that point, we give them opportunity to comply. They weren't really doing it, and you kind of realize you are not in a good position. I was behind the vehicle. I didn't like that in case that they decided to flee. Plus, I can't see their movements. I don't know if they're reaching for stuff. And so it kind of hits you after a little bit. It kind of takes a moment. But then like, yeah, this is not a good position, and we might want to change it.
Okay, so you were somewhere behind this car at the time?
Yes,
You realize that's not a good place to be.
yeah.
Why?
Because if they decided to move back, I'm directly in behind the vehicle at that point.
If they move back and you're directly behind that vehicle, would you feel threatened?
Yes,
Would that be a use of force against you?
yes,
Do you believe that car can be a deadly weapon?
yes,
If it is moving towards you, would it be a deadly weapon?
yes,
So we talked a little bit just a moment ago about what's running through your head. Is it fair to say that you are now starting to calculate that this is a more dangerous situation than you originally realized?
yes,
And you were starting to say, let's get it to cover,
yes,
because you're not feeling safe that close to the car?
right.
Why don't you feel safe that close to the car?
Because I do not know what the plans of the people inside the car are. I do know the car can be used against me, and so it was a safety issue that I did not like where it was.
You didn't feel safe
I
then?
didn't feel safe where it was.
So you relocated?
Yes,
Okay. And then we see that car come on. Go ahead. Okay, so at this moment, where are you located?
I'm at the back of the squad car, back the driver's side. Here.
You're back here.
Yes.
Okay, so do you even know where the other officers are?
Not all of them, no. Obviously, I could see a couple in front of me, but I don't know where everybody was.
Who do you see in front of you?
I can't tell at the moment, but it's Alish, and I believe Hopkins is over on the side,
What side?
the far left side.
Show me on the diagram.
It should be right here.
Hopkins is somewhere right around here,
Yes.
and Alice is somewhere in front of you. You're back
Yes, he's in
here,
front of me, so he should be right here on the corner of the car.
and those are the officers you're aware of?
Yes. Oh, sorry. And Officer Hess, because he's getting in the car at that moment to move it forward.
If you'll rewind it 10 seconds. Oh, nope, just hit the rewind. Do another 10. Okay, I want you to listen if Officer Hess speaks after the car starts.
There's to cover this whole piece.
Okay, what we just saw there was the car turned on first, correct?
Yes.
And then Officer Hess gets in the driver's seat and says, move, move, move,
Right.
and pulls the car up.
Yes.
You said that you thought he was trying to lock the car in. Is it fair to say that that would have provided you guys more cover?
By moving the car up or blocking the car in?
Putting the squad car between that car and you.
Yes. That's more cover.
And you have Officer Hess back here still, in your estimation?
And Hess was,
I'm sorry, Hopkins.
yeah, at that time it would have been in that area.
So moving that car in between the stolen vehicle and Officer Hopkins would have provided Officer Hopkins with more cover, correct?
Possibly, yes.
Go ahead, play. Pause. We can't really see what's happening at this point off your body cam. Can you see different things from what is on your body cam?
That is when the car tried to go forward through the fence.
Okay, show the jury where on your person a body cam is mounted.
It is right there on me.
So it's gonna have a little bit different view of what you can see,
Yes.
about 1.5 feet high.
Yes.
Okay, when you say it tried to go through the fence, why do you believe it was trying to go through the fence?
Because it hit the fence after not being able to go back. It went forward into the fence. I mean, that would be the only perception that I would believe the car would pull into the fence, because it was, its back way was blocked.
Back way was blocked. Was that car being used as a weapon at that time?
I would saw it at that time as trying to get away. So
Right.
it could be used as a weapon. At that particular point to me, I was trying to get away.
Okay, and was it being used with force to try to get away?
It was being used with force.
Do you, in your perception, what you were looking at in that moment, did it just bump into the fence or did it ram into the fence?
It hit the fence as pretty hard as it could, and I believe at the speed it was going.
Okay, do you believe they were trying to gain momentum to get through the fence?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Because as I said, I believe that they were trying to get away. They were trying to flee us at that point.
Go ahead, play. You continue to yell.
Any arrest executed their uniform in order to
Pause. At this moment, do you know where other officers are?
Not all of them, no.
At this moment, physically, how are you standing?
I am back behind the squad car at that point. I'm standing, I was kind of moving, so I wasn't like facing directly on the car. My head was looking at it, but I wasn't physically facing it, per se.
Are you ducking at all? Are you getting lower?
I do not know if I was ducking.
Okay. Show me how you would have been standing and moving.
If the squad car is here and as it goes in towards the fence, I'm looking directly this way and it starts backing up, I'm trying to move as it's backing up to keep my eyes on it, but as it's moving, I'm trying to move at the same time to keep the angle of the squad car in between us.
Okay, is your gun drawn?
It was drawn.
Okay, and you said you're trying to keep the squad car in between you for cover?
Yes.
Okay. You have said a couple of times, I wasn't particularly concerned. Is that fair to say that it's because you had one of the safer positions out there?
Yes.
Do you know where other officers are?
None of them, no.
Okay. The state kept asking you about you weren't in fear. Did you have fear for any of your other officers when this was starting to happen?
I honestly did not, because I didn't know where everybody was, and as I was moving, what was in my mind at that time was just getting out of the way of the car, so I believe that's what other people were doing as well.
Were you even thinking about the other officers?
Honestly, not a lot, no.
Were you thinking about where they were?
No, not particularly.
Were you thinking about whether or not they were in danger?
Not particularly, no.
You were trying to get cover yourself.
Yes.
Did you believe that car was a threat to you in that moment?
The car threat to me at that moment, that it was backing up, no.
Okay, did you believe this situation was turning into a threatening situation?
I do believe the situation was turning because as I knew that that vehicle had already made motions that it wanted to get away. And I knew that its pathway to get away at that point was not going to be by reversing. Because there's no way that it could, really get through this small point here and back up and then have to maneuver that way.
In fact, there was a pole right here, correct?
Yes, there was a pole there. So I knew that its most likely position was to come back through this way and exit the other exit. I also knew that I had that exit blocked, so my concern wasn't as high as it could have been of them getting away. But I knew that essentially they were, my belief was that they were going to come back through us, if that was their goal.
You believe that they were going to come back through you? Why would you believe that that's what their next step was?
Because they showed no indication that they were going to stop.
Did you give them every opportunity to stop?
Yes.
Were they showing their intent to you in that during these interactions?
Their intent to get away, yes.
If they had drove through this fence, what would happen?
As I was planning to do when they initially did that was to call out over the radio to notify other officers that the vehicle had fled, and then that so other officers could be on the lookout, and we would essentially get in our vehicles and pursue them.
Hands up! Shots fired! Shots fired! 4700 east side, right parking lot!
So about 3 and 140 Union Way, 4700 East Side, shots fired.
Show us your hands!
Pause. Who do we hear on the radio at that moment?
Officer Hess.
And does he immediately let them know that shots are fired?
Yes.
Does he immediately request an ambulance?
Yes.
Continue, please.
Let me see your hands! Hands up! Hands up! Open the door from the outside! Reach out, open the door!
Pause.
Open the...
We hear somebody saying, "Hey, Zach, watch yourself right there. Fall back, fall back." Who is Zach?
That's Officer Hopkins.
And Officer Hopkins is the officer that you last saw back over here?
Yes.
You'll hit play, please.
The door from the outside! Open the door from the outside!
Is this still a dangerous situation for you guys?
Yes.
Why?
Because we don't know what is going on. Like I said, we can't see the
Open the
passenger.
door
We
from
do
the
know there's a
outside.
passenger in there, but he's still not complying. We don't know if he's hit and he doesn't have the ability to comply, or if he's lying in wait for us to approach, or exactly what's going on.
You'll hit play.
Officer Hess,
That's Officer Hess saying, are you guys okay? Is everyone all right?
yes.
You'll hit play.
Open the door! Step out, get on your knees! Step out, get on your knees! How?
Okay. So at this point, seconds after discharging his weapon, Officer Hess is notified, shots fired. He's called for an ambulance. Continue to tell the people, occupants of the car, get out of the car, get out of the car. Has the passenger complied?
Slowly, he was.
At this point, when he says get out of the car the first 2 times?
No.
Okay. When Officer Hess says, is everybody okay? Is everybody all right? Has the passenger got out of the car yet?
Not out of the car, no.
So at this point, seconds after the shooting, he has notified dispatch, gotten medical care for the occupants, and checked on all of you, correct?
Correct.
Have you thought to do any of those things?
No.
You'll hit play.
Now, police! What? On your knees towards me!
Now, 1.8.
Yeah, we can one out the car. Give me a second.
What? On your knees towards me! Keep moving! Keep moving! Who else is in the car? Who else? Keep moving! Move towards me! Move towards me! Keep coming! Keep coming! Keep coming! Keep coming! Hands on your head, do not fucking move. You understand me? Do not move.
Pause. Okay, now what was the point of getting the passenger to come out with his hands up on his knees?
Because that's the safest way and secure way to do so. That would be what we would generally do if on the initial approach, was get them out of the vehicle like that.
And how far do you try to get them away from the vehicle?
As far as possible to wherever we are, to come to us as much as we can.
Reason being basically that vehicle and what's in it is known to them and not known to you.
Correct.
So you try to get them away from a situation that's unknown to you.
Correct.
What's a wingspan?
However far we can reach.
Okay,
The lunging area, I guess you say if you want to extend it.
lunging area. Okay, so what is within my reach should I lunge to get it?
Yes.
Why is that important to officers?
Because if something's within their reach and they can get to it, our reaction time is slower than their action time. They've already perceived the thought that they're going to do and act upon it. We have to see their action, and then we have to take it in and then respond, so it's a delay. So sometimes people can reach for things and grab things and take an action on us before we can respond.
Okay, so basically,
Judge, I don't mean to interrupt, but if they're not going to use the demonstrative, I'm going to ask for the witness to take her seat and for the defense attorney to take her.
You still using the demonstrative aid?
yes.
All right, very good. You may proceed.
So when he's having the passenger move away from the car, is it fair to say that one of the calculations is to make sure nothing's within their wingspan?
Correct.
Or is everybody's gun still drawn at this moment?
Yes.
You'll hit play.
That was 24, and we're just about
You'll pause. All right, so show me where you are at this point.
I am on this side of the suspect.
So you're over here,
Yes.
and is that the leaves and debris and all of that along here? That's along that white lattice
Yes.
fence?
Yes.
Okay, and then in the back there, you see it illuminated. Is that illuminated by
The suspect's vehicle lights, the tail lights.
Okay. You'll hit play.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? See what?
Pause. We just heard Officer Hess say, did you see any weapons? Why is he asking you that?
Because we're always in concern of weapons that people have on them. So that's the first thing is whenever we contact somebody is to make sure that there's no weapons on them that they can have access to.
So you're coming up on this driver's side and you're giving them information like it looks like she's shot in the stomach, and he's saying, do you see any weapons? Where's Officer Hess?
He's on the passenger side.
So he's over here?
Yes.
Okay. You guys are sharing information as you approach this vehicle?
Yes.
Is it still a dangerous situation?
Yes.
If you'll hit play, please.
Can't see weapon. Hey, somebody go up there now.
Pause. That's Officer Hess you hear saying, somebody go out there and guide the ambulance in, move that squad car, correct?
Yes.
So at this moment, he is trying to remind you, look for guns. At the same time, he's saying, hey, go get the ambulance in to get her help, correct?
Correct.
And he's saying move the squad car, correct?
Correct.
Had you thought of any of those things?
No.
If you'll hit play.
No.
Pause. The moment he says, do you see any weapons, is that right after he gets closer to the car? You can see him in this,
Yes, yes, yes.
if you'll rewind it 10 seconds, look in that upper corner and hit play. Pause. No. So the moment he reaches his head in, he says, do you see any weapons? So he's slowly getting closer and continuing to check with you that there's not a threat to either you or him.
Correct.
You'll hit play. Pause. Do you hear him say right there, we've got a holster?
I can't remember exactly when I heard it. I don't know if it was at that point, if I knew or not.
So in this moment, but remembering back, you don't know if you heard that?
Right.
Would you agree with me that that's what he just said?
Yes.
You'll hit play. Pause. You hear other officers repeating, there's a holster, there's a holster. Why are they doing that?
Because as I said earlier, where there's a holster, we believe there's probably a gun. Usually, has been my experience where there's a holster just hanging out in the car without a gun attached somewhere to it, not physically attached, but somewhere located. So it puts us concerned that there might be a gun inside the vehicle, so we want to find it.
So if your fear had gone down a little, where did it go once you heard there was a holster?
It went back up because now that there is a weapon in play, it also makes me realize that it could have been worse freehand because I hadn't really thought and concerned in my head too much about them having weapons beforehand. And now looking back, when you realize that there was one, it makes you think that, oh, you know, that puts more concern.
The phrase "my stomach dropped," does that really apply to where you were at that moment?
Yeah, that would work. I would say that.
You hadn't thought about there being a gun in that moment,
Correct.
but then you realized there is, and you
Realizes, yes, that there could have been a more dangerous situation than what it had been to that point.
if you'll hit play.
See if I can get her out. Hey, you got any weapons on you? Huh? Yes. I'm gonna wait for the ambulance. She's got one in the throat. I'm waiting for the ambulance. Through the throat.
Pause. We hear you take a deep breath there.
Yes.
Why?
Just kind of the gravity of the situation. Obviously, it's not something you particularly want to be in. So that's when it kind of hits everything that kind of just happened, just kind of comes along and hits you. And so I took a breath there and just kind of, yeah, you know, it's a reality check kind of thing.
Yep, what?
That it was, a dangerous situation, that there's possibly a gun involved, but also, you know, shooting someone is not something that you want to have to do. So the whole situation is kind of a difficult one and not a, you know, it's a somber moment. So
Catching up with you?
yeah.
You'll hit play.
We're in the back. We're in the back.
Yeah, that's where you guys at. On the back parking lot, you 4700 east side. Take it out with them.
she's still breathing.
10-4.
Where's the ambulance?
You would take the take over this outline 514.
Welcome out here, that's like a 106.
106, 10-4, 106.
I have 2 suspects, 106. I need a second
Yeah,
ambulance also, I got 2 inches.
You just put your gloves on, correct?
Correct.
Go ahead and again.
And we pumped it, he's pumped it, just got pumped.
Yeah. 102.
Hang in there, ma'am, hang in there.
It's like,
Did you say that there was a gun in here?
we had a holster, that's all we got in there. I have not patted him down,
Period, or pause. What's the importance of the information you guys are sharing at this moment?
Because we want to know if there's any weapons in around. Like he said that he hasn't patted him down, so that means the suspect or the passenger could also have a weapon on him, and he hasn't been actually checked for weapons yet, or that Officer Hopkins hadn't checked him for weapons. So he could have at that point had a gun on him, but just that we haven't actually found one yet. So
Y'all are reminding each other, hey, it's still a dangerous situation. Haven't patted him, haven't found the gun, look alive, right?
correct.
Reminding each other to pay attention to this scene and pay attention to what's going on, correct?
Yes.
Do you guys do that regularly?
Yes, I'm trying to. Yes.
Go ahead, play, please.
Listen to me, what's your name? Actually, out in the front right seat.
Pause.
No,
Is that Officer Hess saying, hey, find the gun, there was the holster right there?
He was, yes, letting me know that where the holster was and showed it to me. My concern is I would like to find where that gun is so that we can get it safely out of anybody's reach.
Okay, where are you at this moment?
I am right on the second door of the suspect vehicle.
And where is Officer Hess?
He's in the doorway of the passenger side there.
And is his gun drawn?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is he providing cover for you?
I do not know that either.
You don't know?
In my mind, no, that wasn't particularly covered.
Okay, go ahead, play. Pause. Why are you, is somebody asking about a kennel?
There was a little puppy that was inside the vehicle as well.
And that dog was out running around in the area?
Yes, he came out after the passenger got out.
You can hit play, please.
yeah, we need a separate. Well,
Pause. Okay. Right here, what are we looking at?
What I'm trying to look at or what I'm actually seeing?
What you see on the camera on video right now?
That's the driver of the vehicle.
Okay. Is that the way she looked right when you approached the car?
Mostly, yes. Her eyes were open. I can't tell if they're open there, but she hasn't moved.
Was her hand up like that when you approached
Yes.
the car?
Yes.
And this pillow that has blood on it, was that pillow there?
Yes, to my knowledge, it hadn't moved.
Nobody had moved anything in the car around her at that time?
Not to my knowledge, no.
We saw you put your gloves on. We never see you touch her after you put your gloves on.
Correct.
Have you touched anything at this point besides the outside of the car?
No.
Is this accurate of how she was laying?
Yes.
Hang in there, ma'am. Ambulance is on the way.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to find a gun.
Trying to find a gun?
Or any other weapon.
Go ahead.
140 is for SID. Is this number for SID, sir?
Got the gun.
What do you say?
I got the gun.
What do you do immediately upon finding it?
Grab it.
Why?
Because I wanted it out of the reach of the driver.
Was it in her reach?
Yes.
Tell this jury how you found that gun.
Again, as if this is the gun, this is the barrel, this is back here is the handle. This is the console in between the driver and passenger seat. So it was upside down so that the barrel was facing the back window and the top of the gun would be facing down.
Okay.
So it was upside down back that way.
Was it actually on the floor?
Pretty close to the floor. I think there might have been, there was a bunch of stuff in there. It might have been sitting on something, not actually on the floor or in anything, but like it would just fall in there recently.
And you made the observation that it looked like it had just been dropped?
The way it was positioned, that was one of the possibilities I was going through, that it might have been dropped.
Why did you do that?
I believe it was dropped.
Why did you make the assumption that it looked like it had just been dropped?
Because of the position that it was in. If someone was holding it and dropped it back there, then that's one way they could do it. Or if they did like that from the passenger side, they could do it. But it being upside down and facing back was the main indication, because that's a weird position for a gun. If you're storing it that way, that's not a way it'd be stored. It's not in its holster, and it was just an awkward position, in my belief.
If you'll hit play for me.
Gun.
Gun.
For F-140.
Pause. Okay, if you can, when we looked at the gun there, could you see blood on it?
Yes, there was blood on it.
If you can rewind 10 seconds. Would that blood be on the gun, or would that be from your gloves? Did you have blood on your gloves before you touched that gun?
No,
Did it play again?
not that I knew of.
For F-140.
Hey, Wilcox, tell the ambulance he's in a hurry. Let's get there. Let's go.
Unit Tower Communications 469 Florida Agency.
They don't need to come all the way back here.
Sorry, could you go back a little? Are you showing the blood on your gloves at that point?
Yes.
69 Florida Agency.
They don't need to come all the way back here.
Why are you shining the light on that?
I was just looking at it,
Did
and I was like, oh, yeah, there's blood on my, I was just looking at it.
Does that change the way you behave from then on out? We hear you say things like, hey, I have blood on my hands, I can't touch things.
Yes, I don't want to contaminate the exchange blood with anything else.
You want to maintain the integrity of the crime scene.
Yes,
So you don't want to go around with your bloody hand touching things.
correct.
If you'll hit play.
Just, stop right now and get out, let's go.
At this point, both you and Officer Hopkins have expressed some frustration with the ambulance, correct?
That's correct.
What was y'all's frustration?
That they were trying to park the ambulance in a good location, instead of just getting out, and a driver could move the ambulance while the other paramedics were getting the gurney out and assisting.
You had some frustration that nobody was helping this driver, this woman.
Correct.
And you guys were saying, just get out and help her.
Correct.
Don't worry about your car.
Correct.
Okay, we've already watched this before. I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the 17th minute.
That was, right behind her seat. Like she had hands up, she looks like, and it was upside down, so but she kind of just dropped it. I didn't see, but the way it was right behind her seat when her hand was up like that, like it was up, the gun was tilted upwards, and it's going on and so.
If you'll pause. You were, this was a sergeant who responded to the scene, correct?
Yes.
And you were giving him information of how you found that gun?
Yes.
And you made note of how her hand was positioned. Why was that important?
Because I saw how the gun was positioned, the way her hand was, it just connected to me that it was a possibility that maybe she had it in her hand and then ended up dropping it and just fell right back behind there.
And it looked consistent with that to you?
To me, yes.
That's what you immediately thought as soon as you saw that gun?
Yes.
Is that another moment your stomach dropped?
A little bit, yes.
If you want to go ahead and take a seat. Officer Evans, I'm going to put defense exhibit number 3 up here. What are we seeing here?
The squad car and the suspect vehicle at the final ending places.
And defense exhibit number 4?
The same shot, just from a different angle. Suspect vehicle's on the left there.
What do we see on top here?
That is going to be the pillow, I believe, from inside.
That was the pillow you had to lift up in order to find the gun?
Yes.
Does it accurately show the distance between the two?
Between the two vehicles?
Yes.
Yes.
Defense exhibit number 5, what do we see here?
This is B from the angle essentially where the suspect vehicle was before it moved, but the squad car's there on the left and then the suspect vehicle in front.
And we see the fence all along right here?
Yes.
And then there was leaves and debris all along in there?
Yes.
Defense exhibit number 6. What do we see here?
That's going to be the inside of the suspect vehicle.
Were both seats reclined like this?
Yes.
And if you look right in here, is this the console you spoke of that it was behind?
Yes.
And the console ends right here?
Yes.
And then you can kind of see that there were some items there. Are those the items that you said were stacked up back there?
Yes.
Does this just show another angle of that console?
Yes.
Defense exhibit 8 shows that same view of the console from the driver's side perspective.
Yes.
And And Defense Exhibit 9 would be the gun you recovered from right behind that console
Yes,
with the blood on it.
yes,
In fact, but you put both the gun and the magazine into the same evidence bag, correct?
yeah,
We see you on the body cam, somebody comes over with a bag and you drop the magazine and then you drop the gun, correct?
yes,
These two items would have been dropped into the same bag?
yes.
Officer Evans, I'll pass the witness.
It's yours. Go ahead. Further question?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Officer Evans, obviously, there were several loud verbal commands given prior to you guys getting close to the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And as we've already stated, Officer Alice peeked inside and said there's two people in there and they're sleeping, correct?
Correct.
Is it possible there was no response to the verbal commands because they were asleep?
Initially, that's why they continue to give verbal commands to give them another opportunity to respond.
Sure. And so after Alice said that they were sleeping, were you able to confirm whether or not these folks woke up prior to the vehicle coming on?
Not from my position, no.
Okay, so again, it's possible that there's no response because they're sleeping, correct?
It's possible.
Okay. And the defense attorney pointed out to you in some of the photographs that both of the seats were reclined, is that right?
That's correct.
Is that consistent with somebody sleeping?
Yes.
Right. In your testimony, the defense attorney was asking you about whether or not the vehicle was a threat. You said that it wasn't to you and you felt like there was no threat to other officers. You also went on to say that if the vehicle were to come forward, then it would be a threat at that point, is that right?
Yes, a direct threat, yes.
But it never did that in this case, right?
Not to me, no.
Okay. Did you see the vehicle try to run over any officers?
Not to my knowledge, because I was not aware of any officers being behind the vehicle, so therefore that was not my perception.
Okay, so you didn't see the vehicle try to run over any officers, correct?
No.
Okay. Based on your training and your experience as a police officer, can you shoot somebody for disobeying police commands?
No.
Okay. Can you shoot somebody for fleeing in a vehicle if the vehicle is not a threat to you?
No.
What are you trying to do once the vehicle starts moving?
Move out of the way.
Which is what you did, right?
Yes.
And which is what the other officers on scene did.
To my knowledge, I'm not sure.
You would expect them to move out of the way based on your training, correct?
Yes.
There was a little bit about, on cross-examination, about body-worn cameras, and you talked about it being mounted here, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that body-worn camera video has a limited perspective?
Yes.
In other words, it can only capture what it's pointed towards, right?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that a human being would have a better field of vision than a body-worn camera video?
Yes, in multiple ways. I mean, our heads are on a swivel, so we are looking in other ways that it can't be looking. But there's also sounds and smells that come into play with that as well.
Correct. So a human being would perceive more visually and otherwise, as you just stated, than a body-worn camera would, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The defense attorney asked you whether or not you felt the vehicle was being used as a weapon, and your response was you felt like they were just trying to get away. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. She had asked you whether or not the passenger was compliant with getting out of the vehicle when the defendant was giving him commands to get out. He did comply, is that correct?
Yes, eventually, yes.
He did come out of the vehicle, he did so slowly, right?
Yes.
Multiple shots had just been fired inside the vehicle, right?
Correct.
You would understand some hesitancy to get out if somebody inside the vehicle had been shot and there were multiple shots fired at you as well. Would you understand that?
My understanding would be more compliant.
Okay. What are you supposed to do when you find your weapon on duty as a police officer?
And
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
What are you supposed to do? Are there certain notifications that you're supposed to make when you fire your weapon on duty?
fire, I think they said find, I'm sorry.
Fire.
Fire, supervisors,
Are you supposed to say something on the radio?
shots fired.
And is that supposed to happen immediately after you fire your weapon?
It is practical in a safe manner to do so. I mean, you have to get the situation controlled, but at the same time, you want to notify because you want people coming to you for cover. Because if shots are being fired, obviously the danger is heightened, so you want people coming. So you want to get that out over the radio, but at the same time, you've got a lot of things going through. Everybody has a lot of things going through their heads, so sometimes our thought processes aren't perfect, so you want to be able to get it out as soon as you can, yes.
Sure. If you fire your gun while on duty, you're supposed to call out over the radio, shots fired, correct?
Correct.
And that's required, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What are you supposed to do if you believe somebody's injured while you're on duty?
Call for medical attention.
And that's required, correct?
Yes.
That's not a suggestion. You're supposed to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's some questions with regard to, at the point in time that Officer Alish looks inside the vehicle and says, it's occupied, they're sleeping. I guess your testimony was you guys all backed up quickly, is that right?
Yeah, we took a step back, because at that point we know that there's people in there, so that the danger kind of raises up. So we take a step back because we don't want to be right there we don't need to be on the vehicle approaching it anymore.
Right, and so you characterized it as you stepped back quickly, and you guys backed up quickly.
Yes.
Would you be surprised if the video doesn't show that you guys kind of stood there for a while, right?
We backed up, and it wasn't far.
Right.
But I think that we took a step back. How you feel on the situation isn't always what, comes out later. But, I would say that initially that's what we're thinking.
Okay. And with regard to the gun, the defense attorney spent a lot of time about the gun that you recovered from the vehicle. The gun was found after the defendant shot the victim, is that correct?
That's correct.
So as it pertains to any justification for shooting the victim based upon this gun, that would be non-existent, correct?
To my knowledge, that I don't know if that gun was seen because I didn't see it. So I don't know what was seen when shots were fired by the people who fired them. But if there is no threat, then there would be no. If you don't see that as a threat, then no, that would not be a justification.
That's correct. If there's no evidence that the defendant did not see this gun prior to shooting the victim, then all this business about fear afterwards would not go to the moment in time that he decided to use deadly force. Is that accurate?
Correct, because it wasn't in play at the time.
Correct. Regarding the position of the victim's hand, you said her hand was kind of up when you saw it, and that caused you concern as it relates to the gun?
I wouldn't say it caused me concern. Just how the gun was positioned and then her hand was positioned, it gave me the correlation that it might have been dropped by her as a possibility.
Okay, and you use words like assumption. That's an assumption on your part, correct?
Yes.
You never saw the gun in her hand?
Correct.
Is it possible that her hand is up like that and she's in the position that she's in because she's been shot multiple times?
It's possible.
Okay. So you can't tell this jury what was going on with that gun prior to you finding it, is that right?
No, I cannot.
You said there was some concern with regard to her reaching for the gun, but at the point in time that you found the gun, or did you guys, even before that, when you're looking for weapons, all of you guys' weapons are holstered at that point, right?
Mine was. I don't know if everybody's was holstered.
But if they were, that would indicate that there's not a lot of fear. Correct?
There's still fear. We could have stayed in a position and never moved in, instead stayed completely back until an ambulance got there. But at some point, we're going to have to move in before the ambulance to make sure that the scene is secure for the paramedics. That would have been the safest, staying behind cover and just stand there. But we did want to go in. We wanted to check to see the injuries, and we did believe that there was possibly a gun after the holster's found. So we did want to find it. But it wasn't as heightened as it would have been before.
Sure. As it relates to blood being on the gun, it's reasonable to assume that the blood got there from the victim being shot by the defendant, right?
Yes.
Were you aware that there was a dog inside the car prior to the dog actually coming out?
No,
Okay. So you didn't hear a dog or anything like that?
no.
Thank you. Pastor Mitchell.
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Evans, was the driver of that car using that car as an object to force their way out?
Jack answer drunk.
Oh, go ahead.
In my perception, yes.
As a weapon to either ram through the fence or, as you said, it raised my fear, what are they willing to do to get out of here?
Correct.
When you found that gun, though you didn't know about it at the time, was that a clue as to how far she was willing to go to get out of there, to you?
Speculation, Your Honor.
If it's based on what you observed, you can answer the question. Don't speculate. Go ahead.
What you believed, did you link the two together?
It raised concern that that was a possibility that might have been used. And when I initially just thought a car was involved, that I did know that there was a gun and a gun could have possibly been involved to make their way out.
And the state has asked you multiple times about the occupants being asleep. Do you know at what moment they woke up?
When the car came on.
Do you know what moment, how soon before that they woke up?
I do not.
Do you have any idea of whether or not they were in that car whispering about what their plan was?
I do not.
Do you have any idea of what moment that gun came out of that holster?
I do not.
Do you have any idea of what their plan was to get through that fence?
I'm going to object to speculation and a miscalculation of the evidence.
The objection to speculation is overruled so long as it's based on things that you observed with your own eyes and perceived with your own senses.
The question was, did she know when the gun was taken out of the holster? I mean, she's already testified that she didn't know anything about the gun.
All right. The objection is overruled. You can answer the question so long as you confine your answer to your own personal observation.
Do you have any idea of what moment they woke up?
I do not.
Do you have any idea of what they were planning?
I do not.
Do you have any idea of what their plan was in order to get out of there?
I do not.
All we have is their actions before, during, and after, correct? And the question you were asking yourself is, what are they willing to do to get out of here, correct?
Correct.
Because from the moment that car turned on, it was clear that they were not going to comply with officers.
Correct.
And it was an escalating situation.
Correct.
And you were running for cover at that moment, correct?
Yeah, I was moving to cover, yes.
Because you believed it was a danger to you.
That it could be a danger to me, yes.
And you even testified already that you forgot to think about your other officers, didn't you?
Correct.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Lewis?
No further question.
Very good. May this witness be finally excused.
No objection accepted.
No objection from the defense.
Ma'am, you may stand down, but don't do that just yet. Members of the jury, it's 12. We're going to take a lunch break for 1 hour. Please be back in the jury room after that lunch break, which will be at 1 o'clock. I need you to do me a favor. Please don't discuss this case with anybody else, even among yourselves. You certainly are allowed to have your cell phones and to conduct your personal business, but under no circumstances are you allowed to do any independent research about anything that you've heard in court. We'll see you all in 1 hour. All rise for the jurors.
Mr. Landon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me see you real quick.